Welcome back to the BJJ Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ford. My guest today is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He has one of the largest Jiu-Jitsu content creation pages on Instagram with his wildly popular Chokes and More profile, which you can find on Instagram, where he posts daily technique videos. In just a few years, he's grown a following of over 280,000 followers. He now teaches out of Kerno BJJ in Cornwall, UK. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be joined today by Miko Hytonen. How are you today, Miko?
What an introduction. I'm excited, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. Miko, I've really been enjoying your content, man. Congrats on all your success that you've achieved in the jiu-jitsu community online. And man, you obviously work very hard to pump out the amount of content that you do. And I always admire your passion and your energy when I see your videos on my Instagram feed. And something else I always appreciate about you too is that I know you have a very unique background story and that your life was very different back before you started jiu-jitsu. And man, there's nothing I personally love more than a story about a person who completely turned their life around, especially if it's through jiu-jitsu. So man, if you don't mind, the question I'd love to start with, let's rewind back in time. Tell us about where you're from originally and what life was like before you found jiu-jitsu.
So I'm originally from Finland. So I born in Tampere, 1980. So I'm 43 years old. And I was born in Finland. And before jiu-jitsu, my childhood was pretty rough, you know. And actually, how it all started, actually, I'm going to start when I was 4 years old, because when I was 4 years old, I started to do wrestling. My grandfather took me to the wrestling class because I had a really, hard time in my house. So there was a lot of alcohol and a lot of bad stuff. So my grandfather took me to the wrestling, and I started to wrestling when I was 4 years old. And I wrestled until I was, let's say, about 15. And then I stopped martial arts. We were moving on the other city, and I started to play football. And I played football, let's say, about 10 years. And then everything went fucking south. So when I stopped my playing football, let's say I was 28. After that, I started to do all kind of bad stuff because when I was playing football, I had a community. I was a football player in my mind. That was defining me, you know. So when I kind of lost that, because I was okay, I'm 29, so I'm not going to be pro anymore. So I quit that, and then I started to do, bad stuff, and I was in the gang life, and I did all kind of crazy stuff, and I kind of switched the football to this other kind of a community, and then I tried my first jiu-jitsu class when I was 32 years old. And that was in here, actually now I'm in England, but that was in Spain. So that's in the nutshell. But my life has been pretty nuts. My mother actually had me when she was 17. And I have been living with my mother. Actually in 80s, it was really, really common to go to Norway to work in the fish factories. So actually I was living in this hippie commune when I was, I think, from 2 until I was 6 years old. My mother was working in the fish factory. So I was living in this crazy hippie commune there, and we were moving a lot. And actually I was calculating, I have been living in, I think, 26 different places during my life. So it has been pretty windy, but everything what has happened has, lead me in this moment where I am now. And I'm super proud, and I'm a little bit surprised that I'm still here. And now I'm changing the world by doing what I do. And I'm really happy, and I'm truly living a dream. And this is one part of that, the biggest BJJ podcast in the world, and Ringo Ryan is here. So I'm happy and I'm excited.
Man, well, Miko, I really appreciate you being so open about your background, man. I know that's all very personal stuff, but it's extremely inspiring, man, because I think that there's a lot of people that go through life that start at different starting points, like it can, just depending on the level of money your family has, the level, the quality of your home that you come from, and things like that. And sometimes for young men especially, it can be very difficult to find the thing to latch onto. Like, you don't quite know even what you're supposed to do or what you're supposed to be pursuing. And something that I know a lot of many young men around the world get lured into, like you said, is gang life. I think that men of all ages seek a tribe to belong to. You mentioned that when you were playing football, you had your soccer, your team, which you felt like a football player. And I think that's important. It's in our DNA to be part of a team or a group. And for guys that don't find it through sports or music or positive common interests, sometimes they find it in negative places. What do you think ultimately led you to joining a gang, and what do you remember most about that phase?
Because for me, main reason was to make money. So main reason for me, I come from extremely poor family, but for me it was to make money, and of course, like to be kind of belong to something, and be like a. I was thinking about, okay, this way I'm going to gain a lot of respect because I'm going to do a lot of stupid stuff. But in that moment, I felt like I was living in a bubble. You know, I was thinking about normal people. They were walking in the street, but they have no fucking idea. I am the man. You know, it was strange. But in that bubble, in that group, I was really, really important. So I felt like but I think it was because of the football, because my dream since I was a kid was always I want to be a professional football player. And I was semi-good, but not good enough, obviously. But when I stopped football, like 29, because I was thinking about, of course, I should keep going on, and I could still make it like 33. But when I was 29, I decided like, fuck it, I'm not gonna make it, and I was empty. Then I couldn't. What was defining me? I was not anymore the guy who played football. So I needed to fill that with something, and that was the gang life, and there was a brotherhood, and I'm still connected with few of the guys who I was connected then. So I have still really good friends from there and from that life. But that life eventually, that was not for me, because I'm a fucking maybe too nice guy for that, because I don't, you know, for me it was the way to make money, and I hate hurting people. So, and that's big part of that life. And you know, I'm happy that I'm here now, and I can hopefully turn few people's kind of direction, because obviously you can also focus your energy something good, and jiu-jitsu is a prime example. But for me, it was most of all, it was way to make money. So that was the main thing. Of course, being part of something like that was also a small part, but for me, mainly to make money. That was the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, there's two things you said there that I think are really important to focus on. One is that, man, you said you're obviously a good person. Like you can just tell you have very good energy. You're a very positive guy. And when you see someone who is a positive, good person getting pulled into that, that's a very common thing. There's a lot of kids that get involved in gangs and crime and things like that are not bad people. It's just that their situation is like, man, I don't know what else to do. And here's this group. And then you mentioned the money thing. And that's the hardest part for a lot of people, especially in poorer communities, is like, man, you see a guy driving around in a new car with gold chains, with money, with girls around him. It's like, damn, dude, I don't want to work at a fast food joint. I want to go do what this guy's doing. Like this guy's got it figured out. And so that's a really hard attraction to overcome, man. So I could see it. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And because for me, I don't know, because I cannot talk all the details, but I created a system because my mind was like, okay, everybody who is involved, everybody needs to make money. And I was really open. Or for example, okay, I buy this certain stuff for this price, and I'm going to give it to you on this price. So everybody was kind of knowing how much, but because there is no structure, it is still not a business to be in that kind of, I was thinking about like business. Okay, if we make it right, we can, but when you're involved with criminal people, there is no, in the end of the day, there is no honor. Everybody's gonna backstab everybody, and eventually it will go south. But that was my idea, that I'm creating this great system, and everybody can make money, and everybody can make a good living. But yeah, it didn't go as planned.
Yeah, no, I mean that's how it is, though, man. I know a lot of guys growing up that got involved in like selling drugs and things like that, and they do well at first. At first everything's great, you make a lot of money, but it's just like it's literally just a countdown until you either get shot by someone else who wants your area or wants to move in on you, or you end up getting a knock at the door, and then all of a sudden the cops are busting in. So it's something,
or another gang, or something.
Yeah.
It's there is no people who are, I've been in a gang 25 years and now I'm retired.
Right. Yeah. There's no retired.
Yeah. That's not the. You're like, I get my pension now from the gang. So most of the times, maybe sometimes, but it's not. I'm lucky to be alive. So it was really, really close that I would not be dead. So, but I'm here, and now I'm a different person. Now I focus all of my energy to change people's lives in a positive way, and I have been always a good guy. I've never, even when I was in that life, I was not like a asshole in that way. So for example, I never hurted anybody if that wouldn't be absolutely necessary. So this kind of uncontrolled violence, I don't like it, and I didn't do it ever. So.
How did this all turn around? How did you find jiu-jitsu? How did you get on this path that you're on now, which is radically different from where you were before?
Let's go from here. So actually, my daughter and the mother of my daughter, my ex-girlfriend, they moved to Spain. And I had a little bit of savings, and now we are, let's say, maybe year 2011 about, or 2012. And then I moved to Spain because I wanted to be with my daughter. And then from Spain, and at this point I was already left the gang life and stopped the football. And then I went to meet my DJ friend called Dandy Jack in Geneva, in actually in the border of France and Switzerland. And I went there and I was super depressed because I didn't have anything. I was floating in the fucking ocean all by myself. I didn't have anything. What defines me? I'm a fucking ex-criminal and poor as a fuck, and I don't have any kind of a passion. And then I understood, okay, Miko, now you need to do something that's going to define you. So you need to start to do something. And first I was thinking about, okay, I'm going to start to go to the gym. And so I was just going to make myself fit and look good. And I was like, that's not enough. I don't want to be a, Ferrari with a fucking Renault engine. So I just look amazing, but I'm not capable of anything, But then I was thinking about, okay, maybe if I start to do wrestling, because I used to do wrestling when I was young. And then I was like, okay, there's no wrestling here. There's no wrestling. And then I was just Googling. And then I found something from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Hickson Gracie stuff, old school stuff. And then I decided, okay, I want to try this. And this was in Fuengirola in Spain. And actually, by accidentally, I met this girl called Terhi Kostechko, and she's still wife of my first coach, Marek Kostechko. They are Demi and Maya's black belts with Jasse Junkari, my first coaches. And I started to talk with her like, I want to maybe try jiu-jitsu. And she was like, oh, amazing. Actually, my husband is a jiu-jitsu teacher. I said, okay. And then I was contacted with Marek. I called Marek and I maybe want to come to try jiu-jitsu. And then I remember still my first jiu-jitsu class. I was nervous. I was waiting 1 hour before on the front of the building, and I saw all the guys and everybody who went in. I was like, "Fuck, man, they look so badass. So I don't know how I'm gonna handle this." But anyway, I walked in, and it was crazy because all the smells, all that environment. Because I have been basically grown up in a wrestling gym. Everything kind of came back, and I was like, first thing before I started to do anything, when I entered the room, I slapped the tatami and I said, it's good to be home. And my first training. And the guys were looking at, who the fuck this guy thinks he is, man? But I felt it immediately. I felt it. I was like, yes. This is the place where I want to be. And since day one, I knew it after the first training. And because of the wrestling background, everything was slightly easier for me. I understand it, the directions a little bit more easier. So it was truly love at the first sight. But yeah, that's how I started my jiu-jitsu, and I have never looked back.
That's incredible, man. I love stories like that because I can relate to it a lot because something jiu-jitsu has done for me personally is that it radically changed my social circle over the years. Like growing up, I was very much lost myself as a teenager. I spent time in like boys' homes and juvenile court, and I dropped out of high school, and even in my early 20s, I was still a mess. And I lacked discipline and direction, and you couldn't tell me anything, and any advice would just go one ear and out the other. But once I started jiu-jitsu, once I found something to really latch onto and I stuck with it, I noticed that I started to fade away from some of the older groups I was hanging out with. Like I'd pass on going to the bar instead to go train, and my diet got better, and I started spending time with teammates that were far more accomplished in life than I was, and healthy people with ambition instead of guys that were just kind of always doing the same old shit, And I'll be honest, it was painful sometimes. Like I was losing connection with some of the guys. You mentioned you still have connections with some of the people you used to hang out with. And it was hard because I'd grown up with some of these guys too. And looking back now, I know I made the right call to let jiu-jitsu become my new social circle because it caused me to grow tremendously far beyond where I was when I first started. Have you experienced similar growing pains as you left your old life behind and really committed to jiu-jitsu? Has it been difficult?
I cannot call it growing pain. Of course, it's different, but not so much because immediately I understood that everybody who does jiu-jitsu, most of the guys, first of all, they are really fucking cool guys. So there's not so many assholes in jiu-jitsu and in martial arts overall, but in jiu-jitsu especially, the guys are fucking smooth. Most of the guys are super nice. So I immediately had really, really good friends in the gym, and for me, it was immediately like I felt like, okay, this is truly my family. And now 98% of my friends do jiu-jitsu, and it's just like that because we train so much, and we are like-minded people with the people who are training. But yeah, that became my kind of a family and social circle, like you told. It's and it's hard to be around with the people who doesn't do the same stuff. And because in jiu-jitsu it needs so much time, you need to spend a lot of hours on the mats, and you are hanging out with those guys. So it's pretty natural that we are also outside of the mats, we hang out together. But yeah, we became really tight family. But everybody who does jiu-jitsu, we slap hands. And after the first roll, I feel like I call everybody my brother, but I totally feel like that. If I have 5-minute rolls with you and I see you on the street, I come to hug you immediately. Hey, what's up, man? How is your family? And it's just truly amazing. So
it really is, man. Now with you having a wrestling background, what aspects of jiu-jitsu do you think you latched onto quickest? Like what specialties did you start adopting early on? Were you more of a top
for me? I was a top player 100%, and because our coaches are Demian black belt, so my first coaches, so they were really like old school guys. So we take the guy to the ground, we stay on top. But for me, I think the directions. I remember still my first roll. This was Jasse Junkari, my other first coach. I remember after the roll, he told me like, Miko, you have the direction. So I was naturally, I understand it because of the wrestling background. So okay, I don't want to go here. And I had slight idea what I was doing, but I think no-gi has always been a little bit easier for me, maybe because of the background. But now I have been doing so much gi that I love both equally. I have done both like a 50-50 during the last 11 years, so I love it both. But I think the directions, because I was doing the wrestling when I was really young, and because I have been doing, I remember the front rolls, back rolls, all kind of what we did when I was kid in wrestling. That really helped me. I'm now 43. And I'm not super flexible, but my movement is still like everybody thinks you are super flexible. Actually, no. But I think it's because I started to do those front rolls and playing with my body when we are in the wrestling class. So jiu-jitsu, the movement, I move pretty naturally on the mat. So I think that has helped my jiu-jitsu a lot. So
oh yeah, sure. No, if it's not your first rodeo, like guys that come in from other sports that already have like a really good biomechanical understanding of their own body, it makes it much smoother. Yeah. So wrestlers, yeah. I've even seen people that were just like that did gymnastics growing up that just come in and like really much more smoothly than the average guy. Yeah. So
excellent. Also gymnastics, excellent background of the jiu-jitsu. And actually, but and I always tell people that put your kid to do something when they're really young, and especially something that needs to hand and eye coordination, gymnastics, wrestling, whatever it is. And you don't need to force them to do that. But when you're growing, let's say from 5 to 10, if you do something like this, it will help whatever you're going to do in your life. It will help you. It will help your coordination. Everything will be easier. You don't need to become a wrestler, but that background, few years of doing wrestling or gymnastics or something that relates movement will help you significantly whatever you're going to do in older age.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. In fact, it's kind of fun. I've got 2 kids now that I really want them to do jiu-jitsu eventually. I don't want to force it on them, but I'm just hoping that I'm hoping I can entice them to come train and be passionate about it. But something that I was always inspired by was seeing like the Russian athletes. Like when you watch Russian wrestlers or judoka, just the level of athleticism and body awareness that they have is really incredible. And So I started to do a little research, and I found that the thing they always start with there first is gymnastics. They start little kids in gymnastics first, and then move them into wrestling or other things. So I thought, man, that's pretty brilliant, because if you start an activity like grappling, already having real good body awareness and balance and upper and lower body strength, that would certainly help you along the way as you're growing. So that's kind of my master plan with my kids. I want to get them in gymnastics first, and then if they don't do jiu-jitsu, at least they're in good shape and they're
that's great. Because kids these days, because now everybody's so protective. So for example, because in my mind, I need to be able to climb in a tree and fall from the tree. So I understand, okay, I fall from the tree. Now people are, no, my kid cannot, we are.
They're in bubbles.
But it's hard because exactly. And you need to do stuff that you learn how to control your body. And I always tell when we do the warm-ups, and I do still a lot of front rolls, back rolls, all kind of stuff like this. And many of the coaches say, yeah, this is a bullshit. But I always tell, like, this makes me better the moving on the mat. And I think the better I move on the mat, the better I'm on the jiu-jitsu. So that's my opinion. So I still do semi-traditional warm-ups. We do a lot of front rows, back rows, movement-based stuff. But I think that's still relevant because that makes me better on the mats. I move better when I do that, and I think that makes my jiu-jitsu better.
Sure. No, I totally agree, man. Yeah, I think that people that incorporate things like that, or like yoga or like movement drills. I recently interviewed Cameron Shane. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. Yeah, great,
I know. I know that.
Yeah, great dude. He people that do things like that, it seems like, man, that would all translate over really well into whatever you're doing. But especially something like jiu-jitsu, where it's all, it's a movement-based art. I mean, it really is. You got to know how to move your hips. You got to know how to position your weight. You got to be able to pick yourself up and down, technical stand. All these things are only increased, by extracurricular stuff like movement drills and yoga and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. Well, it's cool that you went from, when you first started jiu-jitsu, you found a team that very much mirrored your background. So you said your instructors were Damian Maya guys, which is kind of funny. Off air before we started recording, I was telling you my instructor, you mentioned you're from Finland originally. I was saying my instructor goes to Finland a lot to do seminar. My instructor is actually Damian. That's hilarious. I had no idea you started with under Damian. That's super cool. Where did you end up though? Where did you eventually get your black belt from? How did tell me about that?
So I started with Jasse and Marek, and it's called Gaijin Academy Jiu-Jitsu, and that was in Fuengirola in Spain. And unfortunately, the team didn't do so well, and the guys needed to go back to Finland. And then I was asking from the guys, like, okay, now we are here in Costa del Sol, Andalusia, in southern Spain. So where should I need to go to train? And who is the best guy in this area in your mind? And they said Santeri Lilius, my professor, Finnish guy, also double ADCC European Trials champion, and at the moment I think best grappler in Europe. But anyway, then I went to train with Santeri Lilius Bernard martial arts, and I started there maybe 6-7 years ago. I was 2-stripe blue belt, and then actually I rented a place 1.5 kilometers from the gym, because I knew it that if I want to, invest my life for this, I need everything to be convenient, So I live close to the gym. I run my bicycle to the gym and back, and I needed to do normal job back in the day. So everything needed to be nice and organized so I could put as much as time on the mat as I could. But yeah, I got eventually my black belt for Santeri, and it was maybe five months ago, about exactly 11 years after I started training, and that's incredible. Now we're here. Now we are here. So, but I'm truly happy that I have been able to train with Santeri and the team in Spain. They're super high level guys, and that group made me. So without those people in Lilius Barnard, I wouldn't be the man who I am today, and my jiu-jitsu wouldn't be the same. And I'm truly grateful to everybody there, and especially to Santeri.
Wow, that's really incredible, man. Now, Miko, let me ask: how did talk about your success on Instagram? Because man, you have blown up on Instagram, man. Tell me how did that all start? Was it something you intentionally decided you wanted to do, or is it something that happened organically? Tell us the story.
So let's go. First, when I was a 2-stripe white belt, I started to teach, and of course, I only was teaching the stuff that I knew. Few basic techniques, teaching the kids, but I will never try to teach anything that I don't know. And immediately I knew, okay, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And obviously I was old enough. I said, okay, I'm not going to be world champion with adults or anything like this. And then I was like, okay, let's just train. And, destiny will show you the way, Miko. Just trust the process. And I trusted the process. And actually, I think we are living in year 2019. And I saw one of my friends in Lilius Barnard was doing a technique video to Instagram. And he's a nice guy still, and good jiu-jitsu and everything. But when I saw him do the video, and I was like, I can do that much better. Like, and everybody in the team told me, like, you should start to do videos, because I'm like this also in the real life. And, I'm really engaging guy on the tatamis and when I'm teaching. And then I was like, okay. And I have been living in the shades, I was afraid to go to social media because of my background. Like they will, haunt me and everything, but I have been super honest since the day one. So all good. But 2019, I reactivated my Instagram account, and then I called my mom first, and I said, okay, Mom, I'm going to start this journey, and I'm going to be honest about everything, what has happened to me, and I'm gonna just, open my heart and let's see how it goes. And then I started 2019. I made my first video, and then there it actually started. And I started to do because back in the day, Instagram was limiting the video length to 1 minute. So I was doing 1 minute technique videos 2 times a week, and I did that, let's say, first 2 years, and I was gaining, let's say, first 2 years about 30,000 followers. It was already big, and I was like, okay, but it was growing like slowly, semi-slowly. And then the reels came into play. I still remember it. I think it was 2021, about maybe when the reels came, like 2-3 years ago. And then I was like, I felt the reels. When I was watching other people doing reels, I was like, this is fucking cheating. You are not even talking. You put the music on background. This is in my mind, this was, okay, I can fucking do this. You do a 1 minute video with all the explanation and be funny and entertaining at the same time. And then I started to do the reels. And I filmed 10 reels. It was Joel Amador and Christian Amador. They still train with us, excellent young champions. And we did 10 reels. And I was nervous to put the first one. I said, Miko, this looks really fucking cool. I was like, this looks something that people might like. And boom, my video number 3, now it's like 7 million views. So that was the Power Kimura, one of my most viewed videos. Like in 1 week, it hit like 3 million views. Wow. And I was like, okay. And then I just decided, okay, now Miko, be consistent, put content on. And I have been always, because I did a lot of study about Instagram before I started to do the videos, because I was like, okay, I do the content what I want, but I need to know how this works. So I knew that I need to be really active. I need to answer all the, comments, all the questions. So I'm creating a community. So then after the reels, I started to push content like 1 video every day. And now I've been doing that about 2.5 years. And from that 30,000, now I have 297, and it's growing like a 300 to 3,000 a day. It's growing. So, but it's truly amazing. And I started to do also not lately, but let's say 1 year ago, I started to do the live videos also, which I love. I just put live on. I'm on the gym or whatever, and because I love I love the honesty of live videos. So I just put the Instagram and live and talk whatever the subject comes in my mind, and then I do the short videos also. But the reels really, skyrocketed my followers. And actually, after I put the Power Kimura video on Saturday night, and I remember when I was watching it, I said, now it looks like the music is nice and synchronized with the video. And I was like, I didn't know anything, but I was like, this looks pretty fucking awesome. And then I went to sleep, and next morning I wake up, let's say 8 hours later, I had gained 18,000 followers, and it has 400,000 views in 8 hours. I was like, and then I was like, this might hit 500,000, because the first day, 400,000 views. And I was like, this looks good. And then I started to gain followers, crazy. Joe Rogan, Jason Momoa, all kinds of super big names started to follow me. And I was like, oh shit, man, now it's really happening. That's awesome. And then I was riding the wave, and I understand it immediately. Now I cannot just hang out here. And then I started to push content every day and just ride the wave and never look back. And here we are, almost 300K. So
incredible, dude. Good for you, man. That's so cool. Yeah, like I said, you can definitely feel your passion. You're also a very animated guy, like you said. You're very engaging in the way you talk and the way you show things. It's fun. Your videos are very fun, And of course, the content, the technique you're showing are very, very good. They're usually very practical and cool techniques that you show that anyone can use. So that is really awesome, man. I'm very happy for you. So do you typically record like a bunch of technique videos in a day and then release them for the week, or do you do a different one every single day? How do you structure all this? Because it is a lot of content you're putting out.
Yeah. So first of all, because ideally I would film, let's say, 1 week or 2 week techniques at the one time. Cool. But because sometimes it's not possible. For example, today I didn't have any techniques, and now when I'm here, I talk with Mark Bauer, who is the professor here in Cornwall, and I thought, okay, we need to film today 1 technique for me today, and tomorrow we're gonna film more. But it has been a struggle, because sometimes life happens, and I feel like shit and problems in a house and everything, and I said, I don't want to do it, but I fucking stick to it. I will not give up. So I was doing every day, but ideally I do, let's say, 10 to 12 videos in a one shooting session, and then I release it one each day. But it depends. It depends a lot. So
yeah.
But that's at least the idea, to film multiple, so I don't need to film every single day. So
yeah, that's excellent, man. Does the is the editing process pretty painful, or is it not too bad? Do you mostly use your phone? Do you use a computer? How do you edit?
Yeah, I use only InShot, because normally I don't edit my videos so much because I want to be rough and raw. Same as BJJ Fanatics instructional. When I was talking with the guys, the editing team, I said we don't need to, edit so much, because I don't care if I seem a little bit edgy or rough, and sometimes I'm lost my words when I get so excited. I don't give a shit. I just want to be natural, and so I don't. If I say something bad words, I try to edit those, but otherwise I don't edit my videos so much. So.
That's awesome, man. Well, what advice would you give to people out there listening that might want to create their own content and do what you've done? What's the best piece of advice you could give them?
I think there is no golden key, but let's think about it like this. If you have the honesty and the balls to be who you are in front of the camera, you will make it. Because it doesn't matter if you don't like yourself, it doesn't matter. But if you have the balls to say, for example, on the camera, I'm really nervous to do this. I don't believe in myself, but here I am doing it. People will love it. People will love it. So if you somehow try to be yourself, whoever it is, and be who you are on front of the camera, and you will make it. I guarantee.
That's wonderful advice, man. That's really, authenticity. Authenticity is something that's very important, man. That's awesome. Exactly. Man, Miko, again, man, congrats on all your success. It's been super cool seeing you blow up. I mean, almost out of nowhere. It's just one day you were there and it's like, man, this guy's got all these crazy videos. He puts them out every day. They're excellent. So awesome stuff, man. And again, I also wanted to say thanks again for sharing your personal story, man. I know that's a candid story, but I think it's a very inspirational story that a lot of people can learn from. So I do appreciate that again, man.
My pleasure, and I want to inspire people, and I think this is a great example of, because sometimes I look ridiculous and I said wrong words and everything, but guys, believe in what you are doing and just do it. And if you're doubting, I had no idea, but I remember before my first video, I was doing a lot of research, and I was like, oh, how am I going to do it? I was stressed out, and then I found out one advice, and he said, just start to do it, and you will learn on the way. And then I was, fuck it, I'm going to put my first video, baseball joke. And after the first video, I was like, okay, now I need to be the filming guy to be closer. And it started to just started, whatever it is jiu-jitsu videos or whatever, just do the first thing, make the first step, and you will learn on the way. Yeah. And people love also the story. So be honest, okay, I'm starting this, I'm a little nervous, you're going to get better, and people will love to see your kind of a story. And funny thing, actually, because now I see a lot of the guys and Instagram, sometimes people are kind of polishing their feed, like, okay, I only keep there the content that is most engaging and stuff like that. For me, I have never deleted a single post. So everything what I have posted since I started, it's there. So you can go my first videos, you can see the growth, how I've been, getting better and bigger all the time. So because I love to be honest about my journey. So I have never deleted any post, and I will not do that ever. So my stories, anybody can see and scroll down and see, okay, this was this guy's first post, and you can see the whole story from there. And that's what I recommend, because people want authenticity. Like, you need to be original, and this is the way. This is the way. Everybody is original. Every individual, every human being is personality. So just let it shine. Whoever you are, just let it come out, and people will love it, because there's so many fake stuff around. So if you can be who you are, people will love it.
That's awesome. Outstanding advice, man. Miko, I really appreciate that, man. That's really great advice. Well, Miko, I'll tell you what, man, we've reached about the halfway point of the show. This is where I always play a game with my guests. This is a game called the Pummel. The Pummel is a series of random questions. Some of these are about jiu-jitsu. Some of these have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. But if you're down to play the Pummel, I'd love to play this game with you.
Bring it on, brother.
Let's do it, man. All right, question one. What's the worst job that you ever had in your life?
Worst job. I was in a construction when I was 15 years old, and I drive there with my bicycle. It was like 6 kilometers one direction and back. I think that was the shittiest job. And I remember when I get my first paycheck, I bought white jeans. White jeans. I remember that.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean. Yeah. I got you, man. That's awesome. What do you think is what's something you wish you were better at outside of martial arts?
Outside of martial arts. Sometimes I wish I would be a little bit more merciful on myself. I'm really rough on myself, and small things, for example, if something goes wrong sometimes, I make it bigger problem than It is. And sometimes for example, sometimes if I do some small thing that doesn't go as planned, stay up all the night. So I need to be more like acceptable also for myself. I'm pretty rough for myself. So I think that one.
Great answer, man. Great answer. What do you think is the worst injury that you've had?
Oh man, I have so many, but let's say it's maybe related to my shoulder. So I dislocated my shoulder. I was fighting with this Sambo guy, and I play a lot of lapels. So I was wrapping the lapel around his head, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna get this guy!" And he lifted me up, and we landed both on my shoulder, and boom. So I think the shoulder. But I have a lot of injuries, but I think the shoulder was the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rough one, man, for sure. What do you think is your favorite bad food to eat? Favorite junk food?
Fuck, I'm a burger man. So I love burgers, a lot of burgers, chips, and a lot of sauces, a lot of different sauces. So ideally you have a burger with the fries, and then you have like 5 different dips that you can dip the burger and the fries out. And that's what and you see, I'm already excited. Yeah. I'm going to start to talk about burgers.
Dude, you're speaking my language. My 2 favorites are pizza and burgers. So whenever someone mentions one of those 2, I always ask the follow-up question, describe your perfect burger.
I think a brioche bun, maybe. Brioche bun. Let's say 2 double or triple cheese. But I also like to have the green there. So some lettuce, tomato, some pickles, maybe some homemade chili mayonnaise, something like that. So something like that. Maybe some kind of a garlic mayo also, because I like to put a lot of sauce. It needs to be juicy, Lucy. So something like that. A lot of different flavors,
That's
what
I like.
Good and maybe waffle fries, not normal fries, but waffle fries, because you can double dip them and the dip sticks better.
Exactly. That's it. That's definitely a good burger for sure. How do you like your meat? How do you like it cooked?
Let's say medium minus.
Medium rare. That's exactly how I like mine.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good choice, man. Dude, that's a solid burger. That's a solid. You get extra points for that one for sure.
Thanks.
What do you think was the scariest moment of your life?
When somebody tried to kill me, so that was the scariest moment in my house. But I cannot go for the details. But
that's okay.
that was definitely the moment.
That's a scary one. Who's your favorite grappler of all time?
This is a hard one, but I need to go Marcelo Garcia, because I remember when I started to started jiu-jitsu and I started to watch instructionals. And Marcelo is just, I don't know, he's still, and I love many of the top level guys, but I need to say Marcelo Garcia.
Good answer.
So Marcelo, if you're watching me, hopefully we can train sometimes together. Amazing, amazing jiu-jitsu, and I have never met him, but I have a feeling that he's also an extremely good person.
I got to train. I got to interview him twice, and then I got to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I dropped in at his school after the second time I interviewed him. He's probably the nicest guy I've ever met. He's just extremely. Oh. He's everything he appears to be, from my experience. So yeah, definitely recommend it. If you can make it to New York, try to meet him, man. It'd be awesome. Nice. Who's your favorite MMA fighter of all time?
This is a tough one. I'm an MMA fan. I watch Bellator. I watch UFC. I watch a lot of MMA. So I don't have. Same like I watch a lot of football also, but I don't have a favorite team. If somebody does something cool, I just I don't have any favorites. So let's see. Now I'm gonna still say Demian, because Demian, it was way how he was fighting jiu-jitsu guy, and I was always like, jiu-jitsu guys, we cheer each other up. So I'm still gonna say Demian Maia.
Great choice, man. Yeah, dude, if you ever get a chance to come down here, come train with us, man. He's got a great. I
will definitely come. I will definitely come there, and I need to do my Brazil tour, and I need to go to the United States, but Brazil is gonna next on my bucket list, so I definitely gonna come there soon. Dude,
keep me posted. I'll take you to get the best burger I've ever had in my life. There's a place in the neighborhood here that's like the best burger I've ever had. I'm not saying it's the best burger in the world. I'm just saying it's the best one I've ever had. So yeah, and then of course the training is amazing. So we'll have a good time. Yeah. What do you think is your biggest phobia?
My biggest phobia? I don't know. Sometimes when I was a kid, I was afraid of dark because always when I listened to the radio when I went to sleep, because there was bad stuff happening in our house always. So I don't know. I don't have so much phobias anymore, because I've kind of deleted that from my mind. And now if I fear of something, I just try to walk towards it and just kind of face it. But I don't know. I don't basically. I fucking hate spiders, so maybe
Spiders.
that's
nice spiders. Yeah, spiders are nasty, man. Final question for the Pummel game, Miko. If a zombie apocalypse breaks out right now in the UK, what's the first thing you do?
I'm gonna definitely call my one of my business partners, David here, who is an expert in that area. He will know what to do.
Excellent. You got a guy. That's good. That's important.
I can definitely tell you, this is the guy who fucking knows. If world's gonna collapse, I'm gonna stick with this guy. He's fucking amazing. He's a fucking true love James Bond.
That's awesome. I think that everyone needs to have a zombie apocalypse guy for sure. It's very important. Very important.
Yes.
And Miko, that was the final question for the Pummel game. Congratulations, you win. You got your double underhooks.
Come on, baby.
So Miko, man, as I mentioned in your intro, your channel is called Chokes and More. So let's talk about chokes, man. Let's talk a little jiu-jitsu here. What do you think are some of the most important principles of attacking the human neck that students should understand early on?
Of course, it's depending a little bit, because when we are attacking the neck and when we are doing chokes, let's say for example rear naked chokes, then we're gonna, of course, we need to clear the way. And let's say most important advice what I would give is, what do we need many times when I cannot sink, for example, choke, for example, rear naked choke, I need to create a transitions, so I create a little bit of movement. So for example, if I lock my rear naked choke and I cannot get it, many times I start to move, so I create the movement, and the movement a little bit opens up the guy's neck. So kind of find the way how we can sink it in. And that's why I love lapels also, because when we beat the lapel, for example, over the shoulder and swing the leg over, and if I don't get it, I usually try to create a little bit of movement so stuff opens up. So I think that's so if you cannot finish the choke many times, especially if you're on the back, create a little bit of movement so you can get the guy open up a little bit. But yeah, I think that one maybe.
Excellent, man. Obviously with chokes, there's lots of different options that we can go for with chokes. It changes a lot whether it's gi or no gi too. So for today's conversation, you mentioned earlier you hurt your shoulder fighting a Sambo guy doing lapel chokes. So let's focus on lapel chokes. What would you say is your highest percentage lapel choke? Where do you set it up from best? And what are your most important details for people that want to use it well?
So let's say, for example, I was keeping now my lapel seminar last few weeks ago, and definitely my number one attack is going to be Pena choke. So Felipe Pena's signature move from the back, where I use my right side of my right side lapel, and I feed it over the shoulder and I swing my leg over. So I have been using that a lot and variations of that. So I think the Pena choke is still my best tool from the back. And most important detail what we need there is you need to hide your retentions when you feed the lapel, because if I feed the lapel and a guy can stuck his hand between here, we might end up losing a lot of power because we want to just try to finish it and it's not working. So hide your retentions, because we need the lapel to be contacted straight to the neck, so we can make it work. Sometimes we can make it still work if the hand is between, but most of the times, especially with the good guys, you are using a lot of energy and you are not going to get the choke. And then we are switching, for example, armbar or something else. But Pena choke from the back is my go-to lapel attack. Still, I have been doing it, let's say, 7 years, and I'm still doing it every day. So.
Wow, yeah, that really, once that lands, it is a brutal choke. It's a very, very effective, powerful choke. Yeah, that's a good one for sure. Miko, talk to me about the importance of having a system in place that can lead you to a specific choke. So, for example, if you're starting a roll and your goal is that you want to get to a Pena choke, let's say, do you have systems in place? Do you have like a train of thought that you follow that gets you to that place from the starting point?
Actually, depending on so much. So I'm a pretty structured guy when it comes to Jiu-Jitsu. So I created this kind of a called blueprint system. So when I'm teaching, I usually teach, let's say, for example, let's take 6 main positions. And I usually try to teach, so you need to have a foundation of your game. So every main positions, top and bottom, you need to have something, at least like 2 moves. And that's going to be a base game. But if we are setting up things, I like to flow pretty much like what I'm attacking. The most important thing is that we need to learn when we get better to chain those attacks. So if my Pena choke doesn't work, I might go under and grab the same lapel, or I need to learn to kind of chaining the attacks. I think that's really important. But I set up whatever the destiny throws me. So I sometimes set up things similar way, but I try to be like the guy you have no idea what I'm trying. And many times I end up in a bottom the lapel in my hand and somebody's mounting me, and then I'm just laughing and I say, okay, I'm here again. But I love to explore the art, and I love to be unpredictable with my attacks and with my jiu-jitsu. So I have many ways to kind of set up my attacks, but I just try to be kind of I don't know if it's called nimble game, like where you consistently try to attack. So that's how I like to play, and I love that kind of jiu-jitsu. Risky, yes. Fun, yes.
That's awesome, man. Well, it sounds like a style that would if you're constantly on the attack and constantly chaining from one thing to the next, obviously you're creating a lot of dilemmas, and dilemmas are something that's really important to create in jiu-jitsu. Like going for chokes, for example, a lot of times that I have success landing a choke, it's because I've made them focus on an arm attack. Like let's say I'm going after a kimura or an arm bar, and they overthink defending that, leaving their neck exposed, and vice versa. Sometimes I'll attack like a collar choke, and they'll reach up to try to defend the collar choke, and in the process expose their arms. Is that something you preach a lot to your students? Is setting up dilemmas?
100%. 100%. And let's talk about, for example, the penalty choke. And penalty choke, when we cannot have the penalty choke, because of course we have a seat belt, and I'm feeding my lapel, and I have the underhook side lapel in my hand. So I'm under the armpit, and I have the lapel in my hand. And if I don't get the choke, I have already the hand, and then I'm going to switch, for example, to the arm bar. So chaining stuff. But I'm not a huge fan of switching from choke to armbar, because I think chokes are, overall better in my mind. But yeah, chaining stuff, that's exactly what we need to do. And of course there is attack. Let's say, for example, kimura, which is great. I love kimuras for sweeps, for back takes, for attacking, whatever, and creating this kind of overpowering situation. So if I have two limbs in your one limb, even though you're better than me, even though you're stronger than me, I create a problem for you. You need to react it somehow. So I'm going to get a reaction. So I love to always talk like action, reaction, and I want to make the action so I can get you to react. Not like I'm waiting passively what you do. I'm going to make the action, even though I know that you are better than me, and you're probably going to choke me, but I don't care. I'm not going to start to defend. I'm going to try to play my game and just try things, and let's see how it goes. So be confident in your game, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose, but don't be passive player, and also you learn much faster, I think, if you have the kind of, you try, fail and error, try the stuff all the time, and don't be passive and don't play only your, let's say, A game, or try stuff. Okay, I have a kimura grip. What's happened if I do a front roll? Oh shit, he mount me or whatever. It doesn't matter. Now we know, and next time we do it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think keeping a very playful approach is definitely very important. If you're shelled up and you're not going out of your comfort zone, that's not a way to grow in anything, let alone jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You said something a second ago I'd like to zoom in on, if you don't mind. You said you always prefer chokes over arm locks. I personally agree with you, but I'd like to hear your reason why. Why do you prefer a choke over a joint lock?
I don't know. Maybe it's because when we started with the Yasse and Marek, and they're really old school guys, and I think Yasse sometimes told me, like, Miko, there is always can be a tough guy, for example, in a self-defense situation, where they don't give a shit if you break their arm. But if you have somebody in choke, it's a totally different ballgame. They're going to go to sleep, and the situation is going to be solved. So I think that comes from my first professors. But of course, arm bars are also great. But again, there might be a guy who doesn't give it. You can rip the arm away, and he still continues. But if you have a nice choke in, bam, everybody goes to sleep.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason I like them too. Yeah, it came from self-defense experience. I used to work security, so I had a guy. I put a guy in an armbar one time during a scuffle we were having at a bar, and I popped his arm. I felt it pop, but I think he was on something, and he didn't seem to give the slightest shit that I just popped his arm, and he just kept going, and then I realized from there, okay, yeah, chokes are king. And there's that old Helio Gracie quote that there's no tough guy with a choke. If your blood flow stops from your heart to your brain, it doesn't matter how many fights you've been in, what drugs you're on, how strong you are. If you go to sleep, it's human anatomy. So I like that for the same reason as well. It's also satisfying to get chokes. I think chokes are, you just know that it's the ultimate kill move. You're literally taking the guy's neck and just.
Exactly. I mean, can you imagine you're fighting hand-to-hand combat in jiu-jitsu, and I try to fucking strangle you. I'll go for your neck. There is something like a
there's something primal, something Fred Flintstone style. So I'm gonna, those guys didn't do a fucking arm bars. I bet they go straight to the neck. Dude, and for you, man, for you being from Finland, that's got to be just part of your Viking DNA too. It's like, dude, I got him.
100%. I love it. I love it. I love it. Give me a neck, baby.
So let me ask you this: when it comes to your game in gi and no gi, because obviously you do a lot of, you train a lot in both. Does your game change tremendously when you're training gi and no gi? Like you mentioned, your favorite choke in gi is the penna choke. What do you like to do in no gi? What's your favorite choke no gi wise?
I use a lot of triangles because I have long legs. So, but it doesn't switch so much. It doesn't switch so much. I'm pretty. I do basics really well, and then I experiment. So I have a really solid foundation of basics, and then I just try to be creative. But it doesn't. I'm not such a. I don't do so much the modern leg locks. I don't do so much heel hooks because I don't know. Maybe I'm too nice guy, or maybe I do catch and release. But that's something that heel hooks, because heel hooks there is no, normally you feel pain before something pops up, but with heel hook it's a pressure and pop. So, but it doesn't change so much. So I like to do. Of course, there's no lapel attacks with no gi, but I try to attack all the time and be active also with no gi. So I think my game is pretty similar, and the mindset attacking and having fun and creating the movement and just trying stuff and be unpredictable. And if I feel that everything goes south, I can always go back to my AKA game. Boom, basic knee cuts, everything, and then I'm gonna start to explore again. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I like that, man. You mentioned triangles. You like triangles a lot. For people out there listening that are having trouble landing triangles or having trouble at least finishing them, I think a struggle that I see a lot of people go through, and I went through it myself a lot too, is getting to the triangle is one thing. Finishing the triangle is a second thing. There's people sometimes you get stacked out. The person sits up real high with high posture. It's hard to bring them back down. What are the most common things you see students run into when it comes to executing and finishing the triangle?
Yeah, excellent question, right? So I think the triangles are really important. And let's remember this. So for example, in an armbar and in a triangle, perfect angle is when I can see my opponent's ear. Then I'm in a perfect angle. So when we shoot, for example, I do a lot of solo drills. So I shoot my hip up, I'm laying on the ground, and I shoot my hip up, I do triangles. And I always teach people to, when you do solo, for example, triangle drills, try to shoot up, close the triangle, and turn your hip. So you're creating this mindset that always when you lock yourself, you're going to start to immediately find the angle. So I think the angle is a most important detail. And good rule is that if you can see your opponent's ear, you are pretty much in the good kind of angle to finish the triangle. So I think that one.
That's excellent, man. When it comes to teaching, obviously you're a very passionate teacher. How do you like to approach your classes? Do you have a very structured curriculum, or do you kind of just teach things you feel like teaching in the moment?
No, I have a curriculum. I teach a lot of basics, and I have depending on the position, but usually it's like a one position for a week, and then we go play around that. But I try to kind of advance because we have positional hierarchy in Jiu-Jitsu. So I try to follow that. So let's say, for example, this week we're doing close guard. Next week we're probably going to do half guard, because the many times natural way, if you're open to close guard, you are not going to go straight to the side control. If you can, good for you. But sometimes you will get stuck on the half guard, and then we're going to do the half guard week. And after the half guard week, we're going to do side control, which is a natural position after the half guard. And from side control, we're going to do the mount week and stuff like that. So I try to be pretty like that. So there is a kind of system how I'm teaching, but the techniques depends, because for example, if there is let's say 20 students and 17 are white belts, then I'm going to adjust a little bit, but I'm going to keep the same position, but I'm going to maybe simplify things a little bit. Or if there's a lot of higher belts, then we will maybe a little bit more complicated stuff. But I'm a firm believer of still doing basics. I still do scissor sweep every day almost, and you can still attack the basic stuff all the time. So I teach even the basics. I teach for the higher belts, and we're gonna tune it up and trying to find those small adjustments to make, for example, scissor sweep work. Even though most of the higher belt guys, they don't do it. I don't know, do it or not, but I use it still every day. And the flower sweeps and pendulum sweeps, and I like to attack the armbar so I can go for my triangle and stuff like that. So, but yeah, positional hierarchy, and I follow that while I'm teaching, so the guys understand, okay, what is the goal? Because I think first thing you need to understand in Jiu-Jitsu is, okay, what I'm trying to do, what is my goal here? And then it starts to be much more fun when you have at least some kind of idea. Okay, I know what I'm supposed to try, if it works or not, but many times it's frustrating if you don't have any idea what you're trying to do. You're in the turtle, and you're like, I have no idea. Okay, I know, I try to escape, it doesn't work, but you're not frustrated because the guy is just better. You will have it hopefully in some point. So.
That's excellent, man. There's something you said there I'd like to go back to if you don't mind. You mentioned that depending on the attendance of that day, whether it's a lot of white belts, a lot of blue belts, whatever, you'll change things up. And I know that's something that instructors do have to deal with. It's something that you managing the room basically is what that comes down to. When you have a room full of white belts, will you often pair a lot of white belts together for roles, or do you typically mix them up with someone with a little more experience?
I try to mix them up, and actually it's strange because this is a good topic, because in my first gym with Jatse and Marek, we did quite a strange thing. I have not seen it done since then. And it was like this. Let's say we have 5 pairs and we were doing all the techniques and we were switching the pairs every, let's say, 5 minutes. So everybody needed to do even the drills with other people, because normally it's like, okay, you are my pair today and we do the drills together, and then when we're going to start to roll, then we're going to roll with other people also. So I love to try to kind of mix pairs. And for example, we do triangles or arm bars, and now let's switch partners. So you need to do it with different kind of people and different kind of body types and everything. And again, find the calmness, and because everybody usually choose their best friend or whatever to be a partner, and it's convenient. But you get better if you train with everybody and just, okay, I don't like this guy, but I will do it, and it kind of challenges you, and all the growth will happen in an uncomfort zone. So I try to mix pairs a lot. So.
That's excellent, man. What advice would you give to someone that's a student of jiu-jitsu that feels like they're not catching on, like they're really having a hard time? Maybe they're white belts, maybe they're new blue belts. We've all been in that slump before. What words of wisdom would you give to someone that just feels like they're not advancing and not getting better?
Yes, it's a hard one, but I just stick to it. Just do it, because there is no golden key. It's just hours on the mat eventually what makes you better. And just enjoy the process, and stop being so harsh on yourself. Stop fucking calculating who I tapped today, how many times I needed to tap. Many high-level guys are still doing it. It doesn't matter. If you're a professional competitor, it's a different ballgame. But normal students, stop calculating. Oh, today I was beating. No. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't. Enjoy the process. Try things. Tap often. If you make somebody tap, nice. Nobody gives a shit. But just be like that. So don't. It's another competition. Enjoy the ride, and be a nice training partner. Be active. Try new stuff, and just hours on the mat. Jiu-Jitsu is so hard, so there is no golden key, but train a lot. And the good thing is that if you watch instructionals or YouTube videos, whatever, always try to enhance the technique. For example, if we are doing today, let's say, back triangles or whatever, and when I go home, I try to recap what we did today, and you can even make notes, but don't start to watch berimbolo videos when you go home. Then it starts to fade away. Watch the back triangle videos, how other people are doing, and think, oh, we can do it like this way also. So try to kind of enhance the memory of the latest training by watching videos what are related to that technique.
That's great, man. That's really, really great advice. I like that a lot. Also, I forgot to mention, I wanted to plug speaking of instructionals, you have 2 instructionals with us here at BJJ Fanatics. I want to make sure we plug here. Guys, one of them is no-gi chokes from everywhere. The other one is lapel chokes from everywhere. So whether you're more of a gi or no-gi person, Miko's got 2 awesome instructionals with us that really emphasize chokes from all over the place. They're all different positions. So make sure you guys check that out. Miko, in closing, man, what are some of your major goals for 2024? What are some things you hope to accomplish?
Big muscles, of course, that would be great, because I'm a skinny motherfucker. No, there is a lot of things happening, and because I came here to UK, because I'm starting to do here a lot of different stuff. I will be co-owning some of the businesses with David, Becky, Mark, Simon. They are the core people here, and I'm going to be working with them. So we're going to create something great. We're going to do also this BJJ lifestyle and TV projects, and there's a lot of big things are happening. So I just want to inspire people more and just bring the good vibes to the world and do jiu-jitsu every day. That's my goal.
Well, folks, unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. Miko, man, I've enjoyed this conversation so much, man. I appreciate you taking time to be here today. Man, I really do deeply appreciate you being so candid with your story. I think that stories like this are not only inspirational, but they're life lessons for people, that no matter what your background is, no matter what you've done before, you can change at any time, and you can be a really good, positive force in the world. And I'm super happy for your success that you've had on Instagram and through your content that you put out there. Please keep up all the good work, and you're welcome back on the show anytime you'd like to come back.
Thank you so much, and it was my honor and one of my dreams to be here and talk with you, and I have been watching a lot of the episodes, and fuck baby, I made it. So thank you for having me.
That really means a lot, Miko. Thank you very much, my friend. That really means a lot. For anyone out there that wants to keep up with Miko, it's real easy to do so. He's active on Facebook. His page there is Miko BJJ/tattoo addict. His Instagram is where he puts all his daily technique videos that we discussed earlier in the episode. It's chokes and more on Instagram. He writes it out with underscores, so it's chokes _and _more. His YouTube channel is Chokes and More. Make sure you guys find that channel, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon to get notified when he adds new videos, because he adds them all the time. And then, guys, if you're ever able to make it through Cornwall, UK, he teaches at Curnow BJJ in Cornwall, UK. So if you guys are ever traveling through, drop in and get some training in. If you can't make it out to England, you can learn from Miko anywhere in the world here at BJJFanatics.com. He's got 2 great instructionals with us. We discussed these already in depth. No-gi chokes from everywhere and lapel chokes from everywhere. 2 outstanding instructionals. Whether you play gi or no gi, he's got you covered. So check those out at BJJFanatics.com. And that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the BJJ Fanatics podcast.